Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is that you're listening or watching this latest episode of VODCAST podcast with me, Joe Redmond, and my good friend, Simon Townley. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Very well, my friend. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. It's
Beautiful day.
It's a nice day. It's not as warm as it looks, but it's warmer than it's recently been. Because it ain't 2 or 3 degrees like it has been recently. So it's bearable is the word. You can go outside. I've been outside this morning. I've been working for the last 2 days. Everyone's been putting pictures of the beers and stuff up in beer garden and stuff. I've been jealous because I've been working. So I'm off today. So I thought, sod it. So I nipped downtown, went in boot, had a pint of Worstone and a breakfast. The breakfast weren't the best, but the Worstone, it's been a while. It's been a while. I do like my ales. Are you shaking your head for?
Because you're one of them.
I'm not one of them. Nothing wrong with enjoying a pint, especially when I've not been able to do it for so long. Because I'm sick of drinking. It's how the Coles Light or bloody same thing that they sell in shops. You can't get yourself an ass draft ale. Anyway, you can't nip to Spar and get yourself an ass draft ale. It
looks freezing. You had to sit outside, weren't you?
Obviously you had to sit outside. I had a big coat on.
This is my thing, you see. I get it, you had a breakfast, right? So I've got 2 issues.
The breakfast, I will say now I've had better breakfast. I could have just gone to Sandwich City, which is a butty shop near this house. That'd have been better. The breakfast itself was a little bit poop, but the beer, well worth the wait.
My issue with it is 2 things. Like, don't get me wrong, we all want to go out, we all want to have a pint, but I'm not that arsed for a pint to be wrapped in 3 layers. I'm not that arsed for a pint to have it with a breakfast. I wouldn't have a breakfast. I wouldn't get a pint.
It's just because I was hungry. I was just hungry.
I wouldn't pour
it weren't like it was 7:30 a.m. It was like 11:15.
I wouldn't pour it on your Cheerios, would you?
No, I definitely wouldn't. No, I wouldn't do that. That's completely different. It's just a ridiculous statement. But have you been up to much then? Because obviously you weren't on the watch along due to Fulham Colts being selfish.
Burford. But it was good. Burford, his thing in there game was it were a shambles. It were a lot of kids didn't turn up till the second half. Let's say physically they were there, but I mean like
right. Yeah, I'm going to say it's just daft playing 5-a-side on 11-a-side pitch.
No, the ability wise they didn't turn up for the second half. My kid being one of the main ones. I won't lie.
Louis, I'm going to have to give Louis a bit of a pep talk here.
But it was good. It was good to watch.
Come on,
again. It was good to crack on. See it in all its glory, but it's nice, isn't it? It's normality back. Like you said, if you're having a pint with your Cheerios, that's up to you.
I'm going to say you were just whinging about normality being back, and now you're saying it's a big thing.
Normal to you.
My normality is back. Your normality is back. Everyone's happy. I nearly went to a coffee shop instead. I was walking past, and Easy Coffee's got this big gazebo outside. It looked, inviting, welcoming. I thought, I could go in there. I didn't. I thought I'd rather go to boot. Nearly went to Costa. Thought I'd rather have a pint. So I did. I've had plenty of coffees. You still get coffees. You know what I mean? I've been going drive through Starbucks the last 6 months, pretty much 2-3 times a week. One thing I hadn't had though is a pint, and I enjoyed it. But yeah, obviously you weren't on the podcast last week either, so it's good to have you back, mate.
Yeah, mate. Good to be back. Thank you very much.
And obviously just before we get started into the slagging of Burnley FC after the last couple of weeks. Obviously we are of course sponsored by Pitch Sport. It is at the bottom of your screen now if you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube. If you aren't aware, it is a app, sort of like a fan hub app where you can go on, talk to other fans of Burnley Football Club and fans of other teams. You can predict the scores, predict your lineups. You can even put your thoughts in after the match as well for other people on the app to see. And you can even answer our question, which we put up every single week onto the app, and then you answer it. We read out your responses on the podcast. We have just put the question up this week. It's been up there for about 12 hours at this point, so we're not going to read the answers out for the latest question on this pod. It will be on the next pod. But if you haven't already, please feel free to pause this. Go over to the app now if you've already downloaded. If you haven't downloaded it, go to the Fan Time question, answer it, and we will read out your response word for word on next week's podcast, unless, of course, there's some slander in there, which for legal reasons we won't be allowed to read out. And one more thing, I was in town today, as I've mentioned, and I was stopped by, is it Dave? I think you half know him, don't you? Because you used to have a salon next door to his shop. Yeah, Complete Home Furnishings. And he gave me a present because we do Turfcast. So I just want to show it off.
Oh, there we go. He's got your wall behind you.
Yeah, well, that's the plan. I'm not sure if the missus. I don't know why I'm shouting.
Come back here, can't hear you anyway. You have to shout.
Can you not hear me?
No.
There you go. There you go. Well, do you like that?
Yeah.
Basically, he said to me, "I'll give you one of these.
Yeah.
If you sort of like give me a shout out and stuff." I said, "I'll tell you what, mate. I'll do one better. Sorry, if you put it in background of your podcast, I said, I'll do you one better, mate. I'll give you a shout out and tell people where to get it from. So it's Complete Home Furnishings. I don't know what the street's called, but it's in Burnley Town Centre. Have I got it wrong?
No, you don't, mate. I'm just waiting.
I thought I got the name of the shop wrong. Complete Home Furnishings or Complete Home Furniture. But what I will do is I'll put a post up as well. So if you want, I'm going to do it on Wednesday, so the day we're recording this. So by the time you're all listening / watching this, the post will already be out there, so you will have seen it, and I will tag his page in the post as well. So
what else did he say?
If you do want one. Well, you're going to throw me under the bus a bit here, aren't you? Or should I say you're going to throw Dave under the bus a little bit here? Because Dave said to me, right, I'll tell you what, before I get into this, I'll put it up behind me.
So for those who can't see it, by the way, because if you're listening, it's just a street sign that says Turf Ball BB10, but it's cool.
Yeah, well, if you can't see because you're listening, then start watching as well. I've been telling you for ages that we do it watching as well. So start watching. You can watch and listen, of course, if you're there. But yeah, it is a street sign. It says on it Turf Ball BB10. It is smart. And like I said, Dave said he wants to get the name out there a bit more. He wants more people to be aware of him because he says people sometimes could be like, oh, that's good. I didn't know you did stuff like that. So yeah. But yeah, Simon's thrown me under the bus a little bit here because Dave did say something. I said it was sort of like talking about the plans for next year, and I know we've mentioned him on the podcast before, but obviously we're going to lose the watch along because we'll be back on the turf, fingers crossed. So the plan is to replace the watch along with like a live match reaction where we get people on, sort of like via a web link. You come on and you tell us your opinion on the match, whether you're pissed off, happy, whatever. And he said, yeah, I do watch that watch along. You do it with Simon, don't you? You used to live next door, another lad, and is it your dad? I mean, my dad, no. My dad doesn't do it. What do you mean? He went, oh, there's an older bloke on it. I thought of your dad. You know what you mean? Kieran, he's about 38, mate. Don't tell him I said that. Don't tell him I said that. I'm so sorry, Dave. Simon threw you under the bus there. Just told Kieran. I told everybody. It's probably going to, next time, I'm not going to walk past the shop again because he'll be like, I want that street sign back now, mate.
I feel
can't believe you said that.
It's been referred to as your dad, and if you order Simon off Wish.
Yeah, well... That's what you get with sort of like an out there look of long grey hair. I presume his dad.
I like your hair, pal. Even though I ain't texting back, he wants an echo.
Tell him to cut it off. What does he want? What does he want? Ends thinning out.
I don't fucking know. I ain't replied.
Yeah, true. There you go, Kieran. Simon's being ignorant as usual. He does it with everybody, mate. Don't worry. Unless you're Johnny Tate and he's bringing some beers round, then he answers.
And even then, it was 6 hours later.
But yeah, that's it then for the housekeeping. If you want one of these signs behind me, check out Complete Home Furnishings. I think it is. It's basically across the road from sort of like the Boot and McDonald's in that sort of square. Across the road from CEX, which apparently is pronounced sex, but I'm not going to say that. CEX in the square of Burnley Town Centre. So, but did you know that? They say it on the advert. They say, come down to sex. I'm like, what? You should really? Nah, say CEX, mate. Wait, trading your games at sex. What? That don't make sense.
Your partners at sex.
Yeah. But yeah, so if you want one of them, like I said, I'll be putting a post up, so look out for the post. And Dave's a lovely guy as well. It's the first time I've actually met him, to be fair. I've spoken to him on the Turfcast page before. So yeah, you can get one of them as soon as you want, basically. But yeah, let's get into it then. We've done all the niceties. We've been nice. We've beaten around the bush for... 9 minutes now? 9.5 minutes. Burnley 1, Newcastle 2. It's just disappointing, isn't it? To be 1-0 up and coming off the back of being 2-0 up at Southampton, you'd think you'd learn your fucking lessons. And they didn't. There was no response from Daesh to Bruce's subs. There was no response to the bad defending last week at Southampton. It was the same sort of thing. Danny Ings ran at him against Southampton. They didn't know what to do. ASM ran at him against Newcastle. They didn't know what to do. It was just a case of basically Burnley not looking like Burnley, looking decent going forward and poor at the back. And ultimately, when they made them subs, admittedly, they had a far better bench than us, but every Premier League team has a better bench than us at the minute. They made them changes and we just couldn't handle them. Daesh didn't even try and counter the changes. The defence didn't do anything different. The midfield, I thought, should have probably offered more protection as well after the subs came on. But that's obviously we'll get into all that. But what were your thoughts on the Newcastle defeat?
It was a difficult one to sort of take because I can't remember the last time that we were 2 games in a row winning to then get beat. You know what I mean? It's very unlike Burnley when you say, like you mentioned it earlier about the defensive sort of frailties, we'll call them now, but they usually are sort of strengths. So to be back, I think there were more elements. I've seen the comments, people saying about, for example, Tarky going backwards and thinking. But if you look at the bigger picture, there's no midfield. Ben Mee's dropped behind him. He's still running it, and we know he's got pace. So Ben Mee's thinking, right, well, if he gets past you, he's still got to get past me. And then he shifts it, decks the strike. This is the same maximum goal. And then goes into the bottom corner. So it's unfortunate because I think it goes under Tarky's standing foot that he reaches out to try and block it. I don't think it goes around him, if I remember correctly. And you just think, just a little bit of luck is needed there because I don't think necessarily the defence did that much wrong. Talking Ben Mee's dropped back to say, like, go on, then take Tarky on, you've got to get past me as well. Most of the time, St. Maximin, just like Traore for Wolves, will run at you until he's got no room left on the pitch. So for him to take a shot there, I don't know if they did anything wrong there, the defence. I still think the keeper, even if it were Nick Pope, you know what I mean? You'd still be expecting him to drive into the box before shooting, if I'm honest with you. So I can't really blame anyone defensively. If anything, I think, like you said, then the midfielder could have come back and helped a bit more and maybe just be on his arse to stop him getting that shot away, take a yellow.
Yeah, I think the reason why we are so good defensively is because the defence and midfield are so close together. It's a 2 banks of 4. It's a case of you're going to have to get past 8 players if you're going to break us down. For some reason, on that occasion, the midfield were nowhere to be seen. They got past the midfield far too easily and then ran at the defence. And even the best defenders, your John Stones or whatever, obviously I'm talking English defenders here and Maguire's because they're supposed to be the 2 favoured English defenders. Even if you're running at them with no protection from the midfield, they're going to struggle. Yeah. ASM's a good player at the end of the day, and he's the sort of player that we would be crying out for recently. But obviously, there's the money issues and stuff. That's a different debate. But I think with Ben Mee, I think Ben Mee's. You got to remember. Was it Wilson on the right hand side as well? I think they've half got an eye on him because it looked like they were going to pass it to him at one point. And again, this is the ASM goal. So I think Ben Mee's behind Tarky to A, be like, right, well, if you get past him, you've got to get past me, and B, just waiting for the layoff to the right-hand side. But then, like you said, he chops in and hits it with his left, and it goes in. I don't think, like you say, there's an individual error. I just think the entire thing was sort of like wrong from our point of view. I don't think you can't pinpoint anybody and say, Tarky, you should have done a bit better there. Ben, you should have been better positioning. Bailey, it's outside the area. You should have really you should be saving him from outside the area. I don't think you can look at that and say that for anyone. But I think the entire sort of like team, sort of like movement and the entire sort of like team setup is the word I'm looking for, was wrong for that goal.
When you're on the other side of this goal, the first thing to do, and this is the problem with the level that we're at now, is to score goals, it tends to come from errors. That we're not necessarily getting individual. We don't tend to praise individual goals anymore, but to commit. Would we be looking at this as a Newcastle terms? Would we be looking at this thinking, do you know what, that's just a good goal? Is there necessarily anything drastically wrong with what happened? He just ran at pace. He took away the midfield with his pace. He's chopped inside when you would have expected him to go with his right, hit it with his left, straight in the corner. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of elements to that just make it a good goal. And I think
I think from a Newcastle point of view, point of view, you will be looking at that and saying that is a very good goal. It's just human nature, isn't it? You're just gonna look at it from your own point of view and see where you went wrong, because that's at the end of the day. You even if it is probably a moment of individual quality, it probably can be stopped with more protection from the midfield. So you're always gonna look at that and pinpoint different things. But the first goal as well was kind of similar in the way that ASM sort of like ran at us and stuff and we couldn't handle it. Of course, it was a layoff and then a decent goal. That's another decent one, to be fair. A shot from distance. But again, we just struggled with them with ASM running at us. As soon as they made the subs, I remember that joking on the watch along, saying sort of like, "Oh, he's bringing these two on now. Shall I go and add and watch it behind the settee because that's the only place I feel comfortable?" And it was a joke. I still expected us to handle these players well. Let's be honest, we've handled Liverpool's front three well this season. Won at Anfield. We've won at Arsenal. Aubameyang, Lacazette. We've handled them quite well. But for some reason, in the last 2 games, we couldn't handle Southampton's front 4, who are, it's a decent front 4, but let's face it, they're not as good as Liverpool's front 3. And we couldn't handle the 2 substitutes from Newcastle. So has there recently been sort of like a shift in mentality with Burnley? Because we are scoring more goals, but now we've started letting goals in. So is it a case of we're concentrating more on going forward, trying to get the goals, and now we've taken a man off the defence, or what? Because if you look at the very start of the season, the entire team was shite. Midfield, defence, strikers, shite. And then we started winning games again. We got the first win against Palace of the season, I think it was, and the defence were good. But then, Chris Wood probably weren't performing as well as he can do. Barnsley, Jay, and then Vidya were only getting a few bits off the bench. The defence was decent, but then we weren't scoring enough goals. Now we've started scoring goals again. We seem to be shipping them. So is it a shift in sort of like a mentality, or is it just a case of maybe we've got a few tired legs and a few injuries, or maybe the midfield's just not performing?
In my opinion, it's one of them things that it's so easy. I mean, I'm not comparing us to a Man City or a Pep, don't get me wrong, but even Pep says, who you would class as probably the best manager in the country, if not in the world of football. He says he doesn't mind the defence leaking goals because of the way they play, because their aim is to score more goals. So when you're playing in an attacking sense, they want to score 4 or 5, and they'll allow 1 or 2 goals for that. Now, we obviously playing attacking, we are scoring more goals. 2 away at Southampton in the manner that we did in the first half, 3 away against Everton. We are scoring more goals, but unfortunately with that, we've got to then take the responsibility if we're going to play that way. We have to make sure we score more goals than them. Now, the difficulty for Burnley fans, and myself included, obviously, was being a Burnley fan, that it's hard to take that we're so good defensively. So when we're 2-0 up, we should be one of the best teams at shutting up shop. But we seem to be...
That's my thought process on it. Yeah, we went 2-0 up against Southampton. I'm thinking happy days. Yeah. Newcastle, I'm thinking happy days. That is where we are at our best, getting a lead and sitting on that lead. But for whatever reason, in the last 2 weeks, we've just not been able to do it.
Well, before I go on to sort of like the positives, because I don't want it to be all negative about this, the Newcastle game. There are some positives out of it. We don't really have a hand to play. When it is turning, when the game is shifting, he brings on St. Maximum, and let's not underestimate the influence that Callum Wilson has. I think I saw a stat on the game that said the 9 games they've played this season without him, they've won none with Callum. So even if he's not an instant, immediate threat, that his presence seems to boost the team and create space for other players. So I just think we don't have them hands to play at the minute. We don't have the ace cards, and they're thinking, right, well, tell you what, we're going to bring a defensive-minded person on. We're going to bring an attacking-minded wing-back. We don't seem to have that availability. And, all with respect to Mbongo, and you mentioned it many a times, that these kind of players shouldn't be learning their trade, coming off the bench for 5 minutes when Burnley fans desperately need you. They should be coming on, learning at 4-0 up, where 10 minutes 15, 20 minutes to go, or they should be on loan in the Championship.
Yeah, they should be on loan at like a League One, League
They
Two.
should be learning their trade in the manner that they're learning it. It's not going to be good for the mentality, surely. Certainly not good for development. What are you going to learn in that? You're just learning how to fight with the strikers. And to be fair, he did all right, did he, when he came on. But on a positive note, Vidra again scoring.
Yeah, Vidra and Wood look like the partnership, don't they, to be fair?
Yeah, really good. I mean, Wood there with that cutback. I watched it on my phone because Louis was playing footy, so I had it on my phone on the thing, and I genuinely thought from the movement that it was Dwight that cut it back, just because it was a left foot, and he drove down to the thing, cut it back, and it weren't until I saw the replay. I thought it was Chris Wood. I was telling everyone, "Oh, he scored! Dwight's cut it back, and Vidra scored." He's doing a lot more running with Vidra on the pitch. And I think he'll admit that himself.
I think it's probably the space that Vidra creates, isn't it? And now Woody can then run into the space that's being created by Vidra's runs.
But because he's the target man, he knows that he's got to get to that first ball and then find Vids. And what a play, mate. Running down to that byline, cutting it back, scoring. Like you said, the partnership at the minute. Big fan of Barnes, leading all-time Premier League goal scorer with Wood still, I think. So it's not to be overlooked when he comes back, but it's very difficult to shift him. Would have been nice to have a J-Rod, obviously. Congratulations to him and his wife. But that's the kind of thing that we are so short of at the minute, is that substitute. And then when one of them goes, mate, we're like dominoes.
Yeah. It was one of them, though, weren't it? Like, you look at the bench and it is abysmal. Like, no disrespect to the players on the bench. There's no options on there. The only option for me, which I feel like Dyche should have done, is maybe take Brownhill off and put Cork on. Now, I know Brownhill he's probably more of a defensive-minded midfielder than Cork, so that might have been why Dyche didn't bring him on. But I felt like recently in the last couple of games, Brownhill's looked a little bit lost. I don't know if he's been tired or he's just a little out of form now, because I thought he was decent against Everton, and everyone knows how much of a fan I am of Brownhill. I put a lot of Brownhill propaganda on Turfcast. I just think the Newcastle game especially, and to be honest, the Southampton one as well, I thought it was pretty much pedestrian in both of them, especially when after Bruce made them subs. I thought maybe Dyche could have countered that by just changing it up a bit in midfield, because I think in the end that's where we lost the battle. I think we lost the battle in midfield. They got past our midfield far too easily for both of their goals, especially that second one, the ASM one. Because then, like we've just discussed, once we've got past them two, he's running completely at the defence. And even if he brings them on after when it's 2-1, you get Jack Cork to come on the pitch to get his foot on the ball like he does, because he's probably the best midfielder of the three at doing that, getting his foot on the ball and trying to make things happen. Whereas Brownhill's probably your best defensive sort of like minded one, and West is probably your best sort of like set pieces and stuff. So for me, I don't know. I think that's probably the only change we could have done, which for some reason Dyche didn't do. And I think he left it to 88th minute to make a change, and he brought Mumbongo on. I think that could have been something that we could have done, but
no, yeah, I agree. It was Jack Cork for me is a definite first team contender. So if you've got him on your bench and you can see the game shifting, you know he'll do a job, mate. He's got an old enough head on him now to know how to deal with certain things. And the thing with Brownhill is he's got the creativity as well. But what that does is it then gives him a free rein to go forward more than maybe Jack Cork would have done. And then would that have plugged the gap that we referred to on the St. Maximin goal? Would that have plugged that gap between the midfield and the defence? Possibly, yeah. I don't think it was. It was something I never really concentrate on, but definitely as you're speaking about it, yeah, definitely he can do a job. We all know that. Even if you put a 3 in midfield at that point, to say, you know what, let's share it up a bit. Yeah,
could have easily took Wood or Vids off and stuck 3 in midfield, Brownhill playing behind them 2 or whatever. It's just something different. It weren't working. As soon as they brought them 2 on, it was clear that we were struggling, and we just didn't do anything. And that's where Dyche gets his criticisms. We all love him. He's done a lot for this football club, obviously, and we'll get into it. And if he leaves at the end of the season, I'm sure we'll all wish him well through gritted teeth. But I think that's where he struggles. He struggles to respond, whether that's because of our squad or because of his, limited tactical nous, which I think is a very harsh thing to say, but I'm just sort of like putting it out there. I think he definitely struggles with subs, definitely.
Yeah, he's like a one-trick pony if in some respects, I guess. But then equally, the thing that you can sort of praise him for is he knows how to build a structure and he knows what he wants from people. But the problem with that is that once he has to change it, it looks like he doesn't have the trust in certain players to do it for him. So he's reluctant to do it. I think most managers would roll dice just hoping for a change of fortune, whereas he won't do that. He'll expect what he's got out there to do the job anyway. Yeah, again, whether that's, like you say, a squad thing, but then there's been so many summers where we've been crying out for signings as they not come in, whether that's a criticism of the old board, which I think it largely is, but then there's other people that are saying, well, Darcy's too stubborn, like the board offering players and then he turns them down. So it's probably one of these things that sort of like stems from that sort of thing. But I think things in that respect, no matter who's the manager next season, will need to change. But we'll get on to that in a little bit, obviously. One thing I do want to mention is you said you wanted to talk about the positives, and you did mention the front 2. Yeah.
Should they have got more? Because we had quite a lot of chances, didn't we?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, this is, I don't want to go in on Vids because he's on great form at the minute. But and the fan base that do listen to us will be that I know that a huge following of them are Vidra supporters, let's say. The problem with Vids is you are going to get chances, but he does need a fair few to put one away. That's the only criticism I can say, because he does create space, he does get goals, but he seems to just throw everything at a shot sometimes, and he'll even throw his body past the bloody kick. Like if he's on his arse as soon as he's kicking it. But unfortunately, you get these chances, and he's so desperate to score, which is amazing, and that's what you want from a striker. But he does need 2 or 3 chances to get one on target sometimes.
Yeah, whereas Wood is usually the opposite. Whereas this season he's probably been pretty similar, to be honest. Yeah, you Wood will get one chance in 3 games and he'll put it away. Whereas this season he's been a little bit hit and miss. But that's it then for our thoughts on the disappointing home defeat to Newcastle. Just before I get into the fan reaction, what are your thoughts on the league table then at this point? It's still 7 points, which is the only saving grace, and thankfully Fulham's form seems to have absolutely dropped off a cliff. But let's be honest, it should be, 13 points at this stage? We should have held on against Southampton. That would have made it 10. And then we should have beat Newcastle at home. There's no disrespect to Newcastle. I got a lot of grief for saying Newcastle was shit on the match reaction from Newcastle fans who, for some reason, made it clear. What made me laugh were with these Newcastle fans, right? They spent all season saying absolute shite, rubbish, Bruce out, and I come on Turfcast and say these are shit, we should be beating these, and then they get, oh, you can't call us shite. Wow, you've been calling you shite all season. But we should be 13 points clear, shouldn't we? We should be on the beach, but instead, I don't think we'll go down, I'll be honest, but instead I am left looking over my shoulder a little bit and hoping for the best when Fulham play whoever they're playing this weekend. Also, I think it is. So shouldn't be looking out for Fulham games anymore. Should be at the stage where I couldn't give a shiny shit who they're playing. But unfortunately, we're still looking over our shoulder.
You know, looking over your shoulder is probably the right thing to say in it, because it doesn't look like it's going to get any easier for us for a while. I'd still think we've got enough to stay up. But if you'd have asked me 5 or 6 games ago, I'd have been like, right, Newcastle, yeah. I'd have been Southampton, yeah. You know, West Ham, yeah, 5 or 6 games ago. Definitely not at the minute, but I would have definitely said that. Fulham, Leeds at home, doable. And then it's all of a sudden it's changed. You know, Leeds have won away at City. They got a bloody rocket up their arse again. West Ham are on absolute unbelievable form this season, and good luck to them. You know, I do hope they break the mould and get in the top 4. And then we've got Fulham, who are fighting for their lives. Sheffield should be down, or definitely will be down, but should be down then.
Yeah, they'll be down. Last day of season we're playing, so they'll be long gone.
You know, and then we've got Liverpool, who, with all respect, they could have a shit season and still turn you over 5-0 one game. You know what I mean? It's going to be hard, to say the least. However, thankfully, I think the job's already done, and I think that the teams below us have too much. Let's have a look at what Fulham have got fixture-wise. But definitely, it's still in our own hands, because we just need to beat Fulham, and it's done.
Yeah, the next 2 for Fulham are Arsenal and Chelsea, if I remember rightly. You're going to prove me wrong potentially in a second, but I'm pretty certain they play Arsenal this weekend, then Chelsea next weekend. That should be 2 defeats, looking at the form that they're in. But Arsenal, you know, they're very hit and miss this season. They could easily pick up 3 points against Arsenal, but I'm not sure where the game actually is.
So, yeah, it's Arsenal away, Chelsea away. Then they've got us at home. And then they've got Southampton, United and Newcastle. Now, Southampton, you never know which side's coming up. They could beat them.
Yeah, we should have beat Southampton. They were so bad this weekend as well.
I know, I watched it. Then they've got United, who are chasing that top Champions League. It should be sorted by them for them as well. But Newcastle are fighting for their lives. I would like to say, I mean, call me weird and stuff, but maybe a glutton for punishment. But it would be nice to see them two sort of battling it out on the last game. I'd probably turn the Burnley game on one side.
I totally agree. I'd definitely probably have the Burnley game on the telly and the Newcastle Fulham game on the phone, for example. If that were the case. But I'd love to see them two battling out on final day of season. I don't think it'll be the case now that Newcastle have beaten us. I think Newcastle will pull away from Fulham.
Looking at them fixtures for Fulham, I think the job's done for us.
Fingers crossed. But it could easily, like you say, they could pick up a win against Arsenal. It's unlikely, don't get me wrong. But this is the entire term of looking over your shoulder. They could easily pick up that win against Arsenal, get beat against Chelsea, then beat us at Fulham. Then it's down to 1 point if we haven't picked up another point since then. And then you're not even looking over your shoulder. You are like that. Your arse is like that. It's ridiculous. So fingers crossed we can get over the line. It is a case of now just stumbling over the line more than anything. I'll take 17th right now. I don't think we'll go down, but I will take 17th right now. So that's it then for the Newcastle defeat. Here's what the Burnley fans had to say for the fan reaction. And this week it is just Heath from the New Zealand Clarets and his buddy. I can't remember his name now, so apologies, mate. But it is the lads from the New Zealand Clarets, and here's what they had to say about the Newcastle game.
Good morning from New Zealand. New Zealand Clarets checking in after the Newcastle game. I've deliberately left it a day or so to gather my thoughts after that game. I think it's quite easy to say stuff after a game when you're pretty het up and emotions are running high. I think sometimes it's better just to chill for a day or so and let things sink in. Yeah, the initial pain of that result hasn't really gone away, but I think we need to keep things into perspective. We're still 7 points ahead. We've still got very winnable games coming up. We've got to go to Fulham, and don't forget we've got to go to Sheffield United at the end of the season. In between that are games that we could definitely get points from. Wolves, definitely. Leeds, definitely. You know, you never know. We beat Man United last year. We've got Liverpool at the Turf as well. You know, I still think that we're going to be okay. But it was a hugely disappointing result, and yet again, for the second game in a row, we've let a lead slip through, I think, probably poor defending, especially their second goal, which question marks have to be asked about that defending. You know, Tarky and me were running back, and Tarky really needed to put a foot in there. Me was covering him, so even if he'd have taken the man down and got a yellow card for it, you know, it wouldn't have led to a goal. But, you know, you're backing off and you're backing off. One of you's got to put a challenge in, and that's poor in my book. Take a card, bring the man down, move on. But there's no way that he should have been allowed to run at the defence like that and score. You know, first half we looked good. We were in control of the game. I thought for the most of the game we were in control. We didn't look, Newcastle didn't look too much better until they brought on the substitutions. And here lies the lesson for Burnley, is that Newcastle have clearly invested in the squad a bit more than we have. And for me, this is the game where the chickens came home to roost. In regards to Burnley's shambolic transfer activity for not just, you know, the last season, but for a few seasons now, probably about 3 seasons, Burnley's transfer business has been really, really poor. And I think that this game showed it. You know, this is where it was on show. Newcastle could bring on 2 players of quality. One guy, all it takes is one guy, and that one guy had an immediate impact. And he won them the game. And Burnley simply looked at you looked at their bench, and there's just nothing. There was nothing there. Okay, Barnes is injured. J-Rod was with his family because his wife was about to have a baby. That's all fine. But, you know, there's got to be more on the bench, and fingers are going to have to be pointed, I'm afraid, at the end of this season. I think now is not the time for finger pointing, but at the end of this season, there's got to be serious questions raised about Burnley's lack of activity in the transfer market, and the fact that in a crucial relegation battle, where 1 point would have been better than nothing, we simply had nothing to bring on. We had no way to change the game. Positives to take from the game, well, there's not many really. McNeil had a good game. Vidra had another good game. You know, I've said it before, I think he's a really good player. He's a quality player, is Vidra, and he just needs to be, the ball needs to be played to his strengths. You know, we need to play to Vidra's strengths to get the best out of him. Brownhill, I thought, had a good game, and I thought that Peacock Farrell had a good game as well. Okay, he let 2 goals in, but the quality of those goals, I think any goalkeeper would have struggled. Other than that, I thought he looked assured. His distribution and kicking was good. He pulled off a couple of really good saves. You know, as a backup keeper, I think he's quality. I don't think he could have done anything with those goals, and I don't think Pope would have done either. So we move on to the next game, Manchester United away. Look, as football, as Daesh said, that's football, and who knows? You could, if we got a draw at Manchester United next week, things would be looking, a lot better. I still think we're going to be okay. Fulham are going to have to find some form and some goals and some points from somewhere, and I just don't see that happening. And I think that we can still get points. There's 7 games to play, 21 points to play for. We're going to be okay. We are, but now's not the time to panic. The internet is awash with people panicking. Just everyone losing their shit. Now's not the time to panic. Now's the time to get behind the lads and just see this season out. And then I think that questions have to be asked, and a rebuild is required. Whether that's with Pope in goal and Tarky at the back, or even Daesh as manager. I mean, who the hell knows what's going to happen? But it's time for our new owners to find some money from somewhere to properly back the manager, because on that performance, and everyone can see that we're desperately short of bodies. So it's all well and good having 100 million in the bank, Mike Garlick, but we needed players on the bench. So if you underinvest in the squad, this is what happens. So anyway, we move on. Manchester United away next, and let's keep going until the end of the season. We can still do it. We're not in that bigger trouble yet that everyone has to panic, but we can still do it. I think we'll be okay. So up the Clarets and goodbye from New Zealand.
So a big thank you to the New Zealand Clarets for their match reaction after a disappointing game from the Newcastle game, which was a disappointing game. I just want to go back to something I said at the start. The sound behind me. I did say I'm not sure if it's complete home furnishings or complete home furniture. And like I said, I will be putting a post out later today. So all of them, what's the word? Where you're not sure what something is. I don't know, forget it. I'm not sure what it is, so I can't even think of the word. All of them doubts will have gone when I put that post up. But just to make everything clear, that's where I got it from. Complete home furniture, and that's the shop. As you can see, it's gone off. As you can see, it's next to the pub on the corner, which is across from the boot and in the main square of the town centre.
St James Street.
Is that what it is? Yeah, it is St James's Street. And it says it right at the top. You see that sign there? St James's Street. You see that sign there? You can own one of them. What a segue that were. Hey, I'll take that one. But yeah, complete home furniture. So if you do want to get one of them signs that's behind me, that's where you get them from. Now, we've mentioned it a couple of times, sort of like in passing. A lot of stuff this week about Sean Dyche potentially leaving at the end of the season. What have you made of all these rumours? To be fair, none of them have come from something that's ridiculously reputable. Let's be honest. I'm not one of these people that proper put the knife in on TalkSport simply because I've been on it a few times and I do enjoy going on it, and I enjoy some of the shows that they have. Some of them are absolute dog shit, Adrian Durham, but I do enjoy some of the shows that they have. But then when it's the stuff that came out this week was from an inside TalkSport source. So it wasn't even a TalkSport presenter himself saying, I've heard this, blah, blah, blah. It was just someone behind a keyboard saying an inside TalkSport source has said that Sean Dyche is very interested in the Crystal Palace job at the end of the season and has even been spotted house hunting in London. And that's the bit that made me think it could be bullshit because of the house hunting thing. Because he still lives, I know he has a house up here for during the week and stuff, which could be what they're referring to be fair. But it's more a case of he's still with his family in Northampton, isn't he? For his actual family home. But there has been a few rumours before. Every summer he seems to be linked with somewhere else, and every summer it seems to be Palace. But there's been a few people. The only thing that's different this time is there's been a few people saying, "Oh, I've heard this as well from another source." So normally, but most Burnley fans just go, "Shut up, mate." Whereas now there's some people saying, "Oh no, it could be right this time." So what are your thoughts on it?
I agree, mate. I think it is right. I've no sort of source necessarily, like you said, but I just think I would put money on Dyche taking over Hodgson. So if that's the end of this season, then that's when it will be. If it's the end of the next season, then that's when it will be. But I think that if Hodgson leaves, I would put money on Dyche being their man, because just for example, just referencing now, like you said, it's not just people saying, "Oh, do you think they'll go for him?" It's people saying why they should go for him now. It's people saying why he would be a good fit. They're on about the building a club, not just shaping it on the pitch, but shaping it behind the scenes as well. And he's got experience with it. They're on about everything to do with how he would be the right man, not just to guard them for now, but for guard them for the long-term future. So I do think it's the one job that we've said time and time again that would worry me if it ever came available. And he's done nothing to make me think that he would not want that job. He's done everything to make me think that that is probably the perfect job for him after Burnley, if I'm honest with you. So I think that there is a chance he will go, and I think if he's Hodgson leaves this summer, which he's likely to do, I think it'll be this summer, mate.
It'd be interesting to see, definitely. I've said it time and time again. It's the one job that worries me. I always felt like Everton was not too big for him, but Everton fans,
they want
the Everton, in the Everton fan not included. But they always aimed bigger than Daesh, and obviously they got bigger than Daesh and Ancelotti. Yeah, exactly. And everybody else, there's no one else in the Premier League that I really see as like who he could go to. That are a decent enough step up or side step in Palace's terms or whatever. Well, that's another debate. Where he could go without them being too big. Like, he's not going to go Man United, it's too big. He's not going to go Everton, it's too big. West Ham, potentially, again, too big. Probably, definitely now if they get the Champions League. So then you're looking at, Leicester, too big. They're always going to want bigger managers than him. So it's always been the one that's worried me. Do I think he'll be a good fit? To a certain extent, yes. Do I think he will get the time and the freedom he got at Burnley? Not so much. But then we've said it before, and I said the same thing with Tarky. Like, people always say, like, oh, well, you won't have Ben Mee next year, if you go to Leicester, or you won't have a deep midfield in front of you if you go to Leicester. Look at what happened with Keane at Everton, who struggled at first, but he's probably doing well now. It's the same sort of vibe. Like, yeah, Daesh might not get as much freedom at Palace, and he might not get as much time if results aren't going his way. But then, as a person and in his own ability, he's going to back himself. So he'd probably be like, well, that doesn't bother me because I know I'm confident enough in being able to overcome things like that. I don't know. It is the one that worries me. And again, it's a similar sort of vibe. Like,
so I guess
go on.
I was going to say, I guess the second part to this question, because obviously we both agree that we think if he's going to go anywhere, that's the immediate threat.
Yeah.
But the second part of that question is, who are you getting in if he does go?
Well, obviously that'll be a mass debate that I'm sure we'll have for one entire podcast if and when
he does leave. In the comments if anyone's watching, let us know.
Yeah, for me at minute, there's nobody stand out, but I'm sure we'll get into that debate on another week. But some Burnley fans will sit here and they'll say Joey Barton, not enough experience. Michael Duff, not enough experience. I didn't mind Alex Neil at Preston, but he's just got sacked by Preston. That's not a good look, so not for me. Who else is there? There was a lad that was at Bristol City, Lee Johnson. Not for me. I honestly don't know. Then you go into the standard boring managers that seem to do the manager roundabout. Bruce will probably be sacked at the end of the season. Potentially, who knows? He might not be. Then there's Pardew, then there's Hughes. None of them for me. I don't know if it's because we've had him for so long, but I genuinely can't see anybody else managing us. It just doesn't make it. Brendan Rodgers, he's not going to leave Leicester. But them sort of managers are the type that you'd want, but they're not going to come to a club like Burnley. Gerrard, I'd have Gerrard. Would he leave Rangers to come to Burnley? No. We give the Scottish Premier League a bit of banter, and let's be honest, it's Sunday League standard. But still, the size of Rangers and Celtic. They honestly,
you're not going to come from Europa League quarter-final, whatever we were in, to Premier League survival, trying to build on top of that. He'll want now, like you said, if he won't go to Everton, but that's the kind of perfect midpoint where I'd expect him to go next. For example. Yeah,
something like that. I don't know. Yeah, it's like Brendan Rodgers, who did well at Swansea, got his move to. Did he go straight to Liverpool after that?
Yep.
Did he go straight to Liverpool after that? See, that's a bit of a big jump. I knew Liverpool weren't as good back then. They were struggling, weren't they? They were still a big club, but in terms of the league stature, they were struggling a bit. Didn't really do so well there. All right, nearly won the league, but eventually got sacked. Then went to Celtic, won everything there was to win for 3 years. All right, he had zero competition. but he still did very well at Celtic. And then the next step was a team chasing the Champions League. All right, they hadn't been in the Champions League for a while at Leicester at that point, but they were chasing the Champions League. So you're probably right on that. So yeah, get your comments in below who you think. I don't want to go too much into this because I haven't seen
listed every manager there is available, mate.
Only because you asked me. I mean, like, I don't want to have like I don't want to give like a massive debate and have stuff like that about it because it's not happened yet. And you know, it's only been tweeted by a Crystal Palace page that says our source is a TalkSport inside source. So I'm not too worried about it just yet. But I do agree with the fact that Crystal Palace is a job that's always worried me. Hopefully they go for Eddie Howe because there's been some rumours that they're interested in Eddie Howe at the minute. They'll be stupid to pick Eddie Howe over Sean Dyche, but that's their problem. Eddie Howe's another one. Would people want him back? Because I've seen a few people murmuring about him back. Not me, not for me. So yeah, let us know in the comments below who you think. We'll have a proper debate about that if and when it's happening. If there's a trusted source that tweets it. If Henry Winter tweets it or whatever, or somebody like that, then I'll start panicking a bit. But for now, do I think it will happen? Probably eventually, yeah. I'm hoping that, I believe that this is Crystal Palace's best season in like 10, 15 years as well. So I don't understand what the big deal is about replacing Hodgson. You keep him. But yeah, it's a worry, but not something I'm overly losing any sleep on at the minute.
No, I think it's happening. I genuinely worried about
it. Fair enough. Obviously, at the weekend then, Man United. Nearly said Man City. I know we've got a good record there over the last few years. Your 1-1s, your 2. What were it? No, 0-0, 2-2, then your 2-0. So we tend to do quite well at Old Trafford. But unfortunately, we're going to this game bang out of form. They're going into this game in the best shape they've been in for quite a long time now. Probably since Mourinho left. Mourinho had a decent first season or second season, didn't he? But all right, they were a little bit poor after that. But they're all in the best shape they've been for a while. So I'm not really expecting anything from this game. What about you? Are you looking forward to it in that sense? I can't really see us getting anything, to be honest.
No, I mean, at Turf, you got to be quite confident that we can, turn up and cause an upset. Positivity is they are playing Europa League, which never does big teams well. When
are they home or are they away?
They're good question. Let me just have a look at it.
Because if they're travelling all the way to Kazakhstan, never mind. I'm going to say if they're travelling all the way to Kazakhstan and they don't get back until Friday night, Saturday morning, then yeah, we might be in trouble. But they're just walking from Salford Quays to Old Trafford. I think they'll be right. Yeah,
no, that's the only positive I can look at from this. They've won 5 out of 5 that I can see on this one. I can't go further back without clicking it, but they're in good form. And they're looking at our last 2 games. We've gone ahead and got beat. Well, that's their speciality, mate. They go behind and then turn it on. So it's going to be.
If we're going to go ahead in the 97th minute.
Yeah, I'd snatch a draw hopefully from them with bigger things that we've done to them before now. But at this minute, they are absolutely flying.
Yeah, I wouldn't just bite your hand off for a draw. I'd bite your entire torso off. It'd be gone. And I'm not looking forward to this game in that sense. Obviously, we'll watch it. We'll be doing a watch along. Not till 4 o'clock this weekend, so hopefully Fulham Colts aren't playing at that time. No, so hopefully we'll have. Well, having said that, just before I get into my predictions, obviously we did the watch along. I did the watch along on my own at the weekend. And in terms of Facebook stars, we received over like 2,000 Facebook stars, so it was the best we've ever done in that sense. And bearing in mind, I just want to point out as well because a few people are asking me about stars on the last stream. There are a few questions like, "What are these for?" and stuff. And a couple of people have asked me on Twitter. So just to remind everybody, the Facebook stars, if you're watching this on Facebook now, you can send us some if you want to support the stream. Facebook stars are the perfect way of supporting your favourite content creators on the Facebook platform. So basically, you buy some stars off Facebook, for example, you'll buy 600 for about £3. And then you will have, about 300 for £6, sorry. And then you will have 300 stars. So if you send them 300 stars to me, I get a penny, 1 cent. So not even a penny, so like 0.8p per star. So if you send 300 stars, like you get $3, for example. So it was good to get over 2,000 at the weekend. So a big shout out to people that sent them. Stuart Rhodes, he was the main star sender, so he gets a special shout out. He sent 300. He was the most that sent. Kieran sent some. Robbie sent some. Obviously, I gave everyone a shout out at the time, so apologies if I'm not mentioning your name now. But what we'll always do is we'll always aim to give you a shout out. But yeah, they are the best ways of doing it via Facebook. But there were a few people asking about a Patreon as well via Facebook, because I can't remember the name, but somebody was saying like, oh, so if I want to send you money, I don't want to send Facebook money as well. I just want to give it you. So how do I do that? Could you not put your PayPal link on it? And I was like, putting the PayPal links on it a bit beg, mate. So I don't really like doing that. And they were like, what about Patreon then? I said, we've discussed it, haven't we?
Yeah.
Patreon. It's just what I wanted to do with the Patreon was I wanted to set it up and actually offer something for it. And I will wait until next season so people who set up to it will get benefits for it. And I will still wait till next season. But what I will be doing is I'll set up a Patreon over the next few days and just offer something very basic, just so you can support us if you want to. Obviously, no pressure at all. You don't have to. And then next season, we'll come into the stage where it'll be like, right, now you can have this for signing up. Early podcast release is probably something I could probably do this season, to be fair, and then next season go into it that way. But I'll discuss all that with my good friend Simon Townley off air at another time. So yeah, big shout out to everyone who got involved with the stream. Big thank you to everyone who sent some stars, and we'll be back this weekend for another watch along. But of course, before we do tidy up and leave and wrap the podcast up, we've mentioned the fact that we're not looking forward to the Man United game, thanks to our poor form. We've mentioned the fact that it's going to be a tough one. Simon, predictions?
0-0.
0-0.
0-0.
You're going for 0-0. Like I said, I will rip your torso off for that. So I'm going to come down to your house later and rip your entire torso off, and hopefully I'll get a draw for that. But I just can't see anything other than a defeat. I'm going, but I was positive. I was positive ahead of the Southampton game, right? I said, no, we're playing so well at the minute and they're poor. They've got a couple of good players who admittedly at the time were injured. Hopefully they'll still be out. I hope we can do them. I really think we can do them. I'm going 2-0. We went 2-0 up, and then they drained all the laugh out of me by throwing it away. I got the confidence back in time for Newcastle. I thought, no, Newcastle is shit. We can beat these. And they were shit for the first 60 minutes. As soon as he made them 2 subs, they were much better than us, in all fairness to them. And again, they just drained the absolute laugh out of me. So all that positivity that I had has gone. So don't blame me and don't go, can't believe you're predicting Burnley to lose 2-0 like some people do when I predict. But don't blame me, blame Burnley. There you go. That's going to be my new saying now when I predict a defeat. Don't blame me, blame Burnley. 2-0 Man United, unfortunately. I can't see anything other than a comfortable Manchester United win.
Yeah, I can see it. Well, I've yet to predict a defeat, so 0-0 for me.
Fair enough. But that's it for this week's Turfcast podcast, unless there's anything you want to add, Simon.
No, go. Thank you very much.
Happy days. And just a reminder, you can, of course, get one of the Turfmoor signs behind me by heading over to Complete Home Furniture. They probably have a website as well. But if not, just like them on Facebook and get in touch. Send them a message. Say Turfcast sent you if you want one. Let him know that he's a little advertising thing. Not that he's, not that he's giving me up for it.
Simon said on Turfcast, you give him 10% off.
Don't say Simon said. Do not say Simon said. It's not a game. That Simon says. In fact, just say what you want. As long as you say you come from Turfcast, that helps us.
Simon Townley said you're his mate and you're giving 10% off to all Turfcast followers.
Try the 10% off. If you want to say Simon says, you have to at least try the 10% off, because he never said you get 10% off. So I don't want people banging on his door saying, I don't even know how much it is, to be fair. I can't even say get this for 20 quid or 10 quid or whatever. I don't know how much it is. Because he just sort of handed it to me as I was walking past. Top bloke, really like him. But yeah, and of course, if you haven't already, please download the Pitch Sport app. It is, of course, at the bottom of your screen now. It is available on Google Play and Android in the UK and Ireland. And if you haven't already downloaded it, get it downloaded, because they've been sponsoring us for well over a year now. They've been really, really good for us. Carried on sponsoring us throughout all the way through the pandemic. Even in the summer when we weren't doing any podcasts, they still carried on sponsoring us. So a big shout out to them. So please make sure you download it, and as well get involved and please answer the fan questions and stuff for us. But that's it for this week's Turfcast. I haven't sorted out a pre-game show yet. Fingers crossed I'll get one done. But if not, we will definitely be there for the watch-along on Sunday at around 5 to 4, because I think the game kicks off at 4, doesn't it? As I've just said. So we'll definitely be there for a live watch-along on Sunday at 4. And if not, if you don't fancy the watch-along, we'll see you for the podcast next week. Same time, same place. Bye.